Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our Center Court event. We're going to talk about the MS in Business Analytics at Carnegie Mellon University's Tepper School of Business. And to do that, we have the academic director of the program, Kevin Dietrich, and we have a brand new graduated in 2023 with a master's in business analytics from Carnegie Mellon, Owen Wang, who is working at McKinsey & Company. Welcome.
Thanks, John.
So Kevin, give us a little lowdown on the program. I know it's 9 months, it's full-time, it's accelerated, and it's intense. And I noticed that in each of your mini semesters, you have experiential learning attached.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And I'm glad to be here talking a little bit about our program. Glad to be joined by Owen, who's kind of bringing in that direct experience from last year. Our program is just as you described it. We have our full-time MS in Business Analytics program here at Tepper at Carnegie Mellon. It's a 9-month experience, and it is what I would describe as a rigorous 9 months for students. They're getting learning and sort of academic and experiential skill set throughout their 9 months here. And I really think of it in sort of a couple of different buckets. One is going to be sort of the analytics bucket, right? They're taking a series of stats courses while they're here. They're taking a series of machine learning courses, optimization. They take a programming class as well. So they're getting sort of that core skill set on the analytics and data science side, from a place where that is very core to our being and our existence, right? Management science and bringing sort of the analytical side to business education. In addition to that, they're also getting the foundations of business, but also getting into sort of the core vertical areas of business. So they'll take classes in marketing, operations, supply chain, finance as well. And so they're getting all of these different sort of core area courses, but applied towards analytics. And then the third bucket, academically speaking, is going to be that experiential learning. The key component to that experiential learning is going to be the spring capstone, where they're sort of bringing everything together and sort of applying their learnings and their knowledge to a live case with a client that we've sourced through our corporate relations office here at Tepper and at CMU. And so it is, I think as you put it, a kind of a crash course. You get it quick. It's in 9 months. But the goal and the desire really is to get folks, depending on where they are in their journey, either out to the workforce as quickly as possible, or if they're coming in with 1, 2, 3 years of work experience, back out to the workforce with this necessary and really essential skill set nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And the current cohort in study right now is 73 students. And
that's right.
Yeah, it was, and they're on the young side. The average work experience is 1.3 years, but you just mentioned it can be up to 3, and maybe it could even be more than that, right?
Yep, that's right, John. So we grew. First off, we grew a little bit from last year. Owen's cohort, he graduated with in total 50 students, including himself. Oh, wow. So we grew up to 73 in this class that will graduate in 2024. And sort of what I would articulate is that across the cohort, there is a lot of diversity in a couple of different ways. There's really tremendous international diversity, and I think that's really important for me to articulate that. Folks who come to study at Carnegie Mellon, they're going to get a pretty tremendous diversity of thought and background, and I think that that's really important. There is a little bit of diversity there in terms of the level of work experience. So some folks coming in, straight out of college, out of their undergraduate education, some, 2, 3, 4 years of work experience. So that 1.3 years is going to be the average. And then the other component that I'm really happy to sort of talk about, and it is that in an area where industry, I think a lot of times is pretty typically underrepresented. We do really well in terms of female representation. So our class this year, I want to say, is at like 52% female in terms of the gender breakdown. So the profile is one that we curate very carefully, and I'm very proud of, and bringing a lot of opportunity to our students. it's a really good program in particular for those folks who are, like I said, in that kind of early stage of their career.
And Kevin, who would you say the program is best suited for in terms of what careers they're likely to pursue?
Yeah, so that's an interesting sort of mini case study here, John. I'll admit to, and just to be ultra short, Owen's class that graduated is actually our first full-time MSBA class to have graduated.
Wow.
And so there was, as we were kind of going through these exercises last year, there was a little bit of, or quite a bit of hypothesizing, but we were curious to see kind of where things landed in the way of outcomes. And I'm very fascinated by a couple of things. The first that I'll mention is that every one of our graduates from last year has a different job title, and I think that's a little bit indicative of industry and industries still sort of determining how they want to categorize analysts, analytics, data science, and so forth. But I thought that was very interesting. And then the other component that I think is equally as fascinating is the spray and spread of where our graduates landed in terms of industry. The largest two I'll mention are going to be in financial services and then consulting, but really a lot of representation in here: healthcare, tech, manufacturing, consumer products, government agency, transportation services, and so forth. So there really is a pretty tremendous diversity, which I think goes to speak towards the skill set that we're teaching here on campus. And that is that really analytics is needed across industry and across the globe as well.
Right. Now, Owen, let's get to you. Why did you pursue the degree in the first place?
Yeah, I think it depends like on my background. I come from a marketing undergraduate, and during those 4 years, I realized, like through internship, I realized I'm more interested in the quantitative side of marketing. So I slowly pivot my career into marketing analyst, including working as like a junior data analyst in one of the tech company in China. And then I realized I only have a business background. What I need is a more fundamental and in-depth tech training, but
Mhm.
also focus on the business analytics applications. And that is why I quit my job and come to Carnegie Mellon Tepper for the business analytics program, just to pivot my career from business to a more analytics role. Yeah.
Good reason to do it. So you came from China to do this degree?
Yes, yes. I just moved from China last August, so
My goodness, what was that like? What was the transition like for you?
oh, it's such a huge change, like no matter from the culture's perspective, but also from the recruiting perspective. Like here, obviously, networking and those kind of like reach out and it's very crucial in the entire process. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Now, when you were thinking about getting a
Yeah.
degree, do you consider any other degree like an MBA or not?
No, because I have a very clear goal of what I want to do, and I want to pivot my career in this 1 year. So instead of like waiting for 2 to 3 years, have more experience to get an MBA degree, I would just fastly just want to change my career and go to the data science field that I want to engage in. And I do think about like other degrees in engineer school, but I look through their student experience and also the curriculum, and also like considering my future aspirations, what I want is a degree that can combine tech into analytics instead of like a purely coding or engineering degree.
Sure.
Yeah, because what I want to do is to use data science as a tool to drive business impact instead of like building asset. And that would be my top one passions. Then yeah, that's why the B school would be my options. Yeah.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the learning experience. What did you go through?
Yeah. I think the learning experience is pretty diverse and comprehensive. As Kevin mentioned, we have from a technical side, we have a very in-depth programming training in machine learning, Python, SQL, and also all kinds of like visualization tools, Tableau Prep. these tools I am actually using every day in my work as a data science consultant, helping the clients, helping the company. So it's extremely practical and extremely helpful. And also, the other piece I want to mention is we have like a specific domain specific course, like how to apply data science into different topics, including my favorite one, analytical marketing, and also financial analytics, and also like optimization. All those kind of like teach us not only know how to use a tool, but also know how to use this tool to drive the impact. And that is what we train for. And also a lot of like business communication class and business fundamental, and those are mainly for the students come from engineering background and have a pretty comprehensive toolkits to prepare themselves. Yeah.
And talk a little bit about your project, your consulting project in
Yep.
the program.
Yeah. The consulting projects in the program, I mean you mentioned I assume you mentioned the capstone projects we're on.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like very interesting because I can imagine like how similar the workflow is compared to like my current working environment, because it's exactly like we are assigned a clients that with our interests, our topics, and then we communicate with the clients to clarify and define the business problems. We have a prompt, but there's a lot of to nail down. And then we present them with like to brainstorm and discuss all kind of analytics approach to build a model, feature engineering, and then fine tune the model, and then eventually how to deploy the model and drive to prove that this model can actually generate a business impact or influence on their service. So after going through the entire process, we have a very strong exposure to how to lead a client conversation, how to pinpoint, how to prioritize all those kind of business needs, and more importantly, how to use the correct model or personalized, customized model to solve that particular issue instead of like a one size fit all approach to do it. And that is, I think that is one of the most valuable experience I gained from the program, to be honest.
You know, in looking over the curriculum, Kevin, I noticed that while you have the basic stuff like introduction to probability and statistics and data exploration and visualization, programming in R and Python, you also have things like business communication for analytical decision making, managing teams and organizations, business value through integrative analytics, and ethics in AI. So it's kind of a really interesting layered approach, and the courses build on each other, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, John. I was gonna sort of reinforce some of what Owen's been messaging here, and I think kind of a key takeaway and relevant to these courses that you just mentioned is that idea of business impact, business value.
Right.
And now Owen, in sort of describing his story, talked about how he evaluated engineering and different types of programs. But ultimately for him, and I think, you know, to those thinking about our program, I'd encourage them to really think about, you know, what do you want out of a graduate program? If you're considering ours, I really encourage you to think about that concept of business impact and business value, right? Because the folks that come into our program are going to be you know, interfacing with clients throughout the program. They're going to be sort of, I would say, highly encouraged to do a lot of networking throughout the program. And once you get, we develop a lot of those skills early on through the business comms course, through the managing teams course, and then we apply them later on in the capstone and the business value course and so forth. But even as we kind of zoom out and think beyond just the spectrum of a 9-month academic program, Owen is sort of out there living and breathing this stuff right now nowadays. And so we really are looking for those folks who want to come in and make an impact. And so what I ask and what I look for through kind of the application and admissions process is, what does leadership look like on your resume from the perspective of what you've done so far in your career or through your college career? How can you show me that you're a creative and a design thinker? How can you show me that you are someone who is really efficient and effective at working in teams. And that's not necessarily just to say efficient and effective insofar as getting the job done, but being a part of a well-functioning team, I think is really critical. And so as I think about these other sort of parts of the curriculum, yes, we have the necessary and really critical technical components, but I think what differentiates our grads and folks like Owen is that they have this other sort of intangible side. We evaluate that through the application process, and we really start to continue to developing those skill sets throughout the program so that they can apply them towards the latter end, but really most importantly, be successful in their career. That's what I'm looking for. This is sort of a first step or perhaps a second or third step for folks in their careers. And we want to help them with those next 10 to 15 steps in their careers as well.
Yeah. So, Owen, this has been quite a journey from you. You went from Shanghai and a trip.com job as a data analyst to Pittsburgh to get your degree, and now at McKinsey in New York. Wow, that's quite a journey.
Yeah.
And all assisted, of course, by your degree. I wonder to what extent did the career services folks at Carnegie Mellon help in this transition?
Yeah. I think the career service at Carnegie Mellon and especially Tepper, the MCC career service, has been very, very helpful and supportive. And I can kind of like introduce my overall experience. So every student will have their assigned MCC like career coach, and they are very approachable and they are very supportive. So I kind of like during my recruiting journey, I kind of will set up a lot of one-on-one with them each week or every other week to discuss the job search, the career planning, the resume revision, and then the mock interview. And they're very helpful in a way that can teach me some strategic communication strategy that I can showcase in my, for example, LinkedIn outreach, my cover letter, and also during the entire interview process. And as I mentioned, being an international student living my entire life in China, there's such cultural or like workplace shift, and the way we communicate or outreach with others is completely different. So they kind of just provide this like personalized support and advice for you, which is very helpful. And besides, we have a very comprehensive training series, including teaching you how to network on LinkedIn, how to reach out emails, and how to prepare for an in-person or virtual career fair, how to draft a cover letter, elevator pitch. These are very, very helpful and useful. I just gain a lot of like benefits from them. And also our program director Kevin also like closely collaborate with the career service to invite a lot of guest speakers from different industries. They are kind of like a data science or data analytics guru from different topics or industries to kind of like showcase to our students what's their day-to-day work like and how data science is applied to different industry or different topics, so that we can have a say or have a preview before the interview process and just become more clear of what we want to pursue and how to develop our skill set. So, and also like CMU wise, there's a lot of like career fair that we can participate in. So overall, I feel very supportive, and I am amazed by how resourceful Tepper and Carnegie Mellon is when providing this kind of like career service for our student. Yeah.
And you are a member of the first class.
Yep.
So Kevin, I don't know if this question for you is a little premature, but maybe it's not, because you get pretty immediate feedback. What do you think employers most appreciate about the first batch of students that you put into real jobs?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. I think one is that they're getting sort of the essential analytic skills that, in my probably very biased opinion, is coming from a place that is second to none in the world at teaching these very, very critical skills. And so I think that analytics, that quantitative side, is really, really important. And I think our students, get out into industry and they've cut their teeth here, and they just perform incredibly well. The second component is that I think it's important. A lot of our folks in our full-time program are very early on in their careers. But when they leave here, they leave with sort of those necessary business skills to hold their weight in when they're out working in industry across a number of different industries. And so they have both breadth, but they also have depth within different industries from a curricular standpoint. And they have the knowledge and applied skills to be able to go and drive business insights for companies. And so those are kind of the two things, as you mentioned. This is data that we're still collecting, and we'll be in year 10 and 15 and still be collecting this data to see constant improvement.
Exactly. I think the secret is in the admissions process and what you were looking for first on in terms of leadership potential, professionalism, the potential to communicate well with others, which I think is really crucial in these roles. Owen, so you've only been out for 4 months,
Yes.
but I wondered in looking back on the experience,
Yep.
What were the most valued parts of it for you? And are there tangible or intangible things that you've taken away from it and you already see yourself applying?
Yeah. I think the most valuable things I can take away the intangible part. The tangible part is very obvious, the technical skills, all those kind of like how to apply data into analytics, so I won't repeat that. But the intangible part, one thing I think I am still like benefit from it every single day when I do the client projects on data science is the quantitative communications. This part is what the programs like value so much, that put into different type of courses, including business communications, business value, through data science, something like that. So the quantitative communication is not just like you have the ability to explain the data to show this kind of fancy plot or graph, but really the ability to synthesize your idea and really stand from the business point of view and tell a story from the data, from your approach, what other approach and why we need to use this approach and how we can prove the value and effectiveness of this approach so that we can gain buy-in of our clients, of our manager. Otherwise, nobody will use your model as like, even though it's very fancy model. And so that piece is a very intangible part. And also leadership developments. I mentioned like actively engage in the capstone projects that allow us to drive client communications and take the initiative to just walk through the entire process. And also the leadership development can be trained from like me actively engage in the Tepper community and the clubs. I serve as a junior board member of the DA club, where I kind of like lead a lot of analytics sections for coaching purposes in a fun way. And during the entire process, I can just really stand from ownership point of view to how to create engaging analytics sessions and how to organize the entire session and engage audience and make them learn. So I think those are the few parts I feel like very important and very valuable even for now. Yeah.
So Owen, I wonder if you could take us back for
Yeah.
time before the program when you were applying and considering it.
Yeah.
There you are in Shanghai.
Yeah.
How do you know to apply to Carnegie Mellon in the first place? And then what
Yeah.
advice did you give to others who are
Yeah.
now in your shoes?
I actually did a lot of like cross comparison of different programs, and I think the most important part, as I mentioned in the beginning, is I'm looking for in-depth tech program, but very analytical driven instead of like engineering driven.
Right.
And second, it has reputations, and third, it has opportunity to engage in a community or engage in different clubs or society, because otherwise I can just go for a boot camp, right? Instead of like a MSPA program. And that is what like that is why I choose like Tepper. I went through its website. The first thing I know about Tepper is the logo of like the intelligent future of like Kevin's background. And
Oh,
that's how I realized Tepper is actually like very closely combining data analytics in their program, in their course. And the mission is use data to drive business impact. And that is the mission of like Tepper, I believe. And that is why I believe like Tepper can perfectly combine tech and business. That leads me to this program. And your second question is something related to the advice for the future cohort, or
Yeah, advice for other applicants to the program. What should they be thinking about considering? What kind of questions should they ask?
oh yeah, definitely. I think my top one advice is, as Kevin mentioned, like be very clear of what you lack and what you want to do. So when a time I apply, I know I'm sending to a point of junior data analyst, but I want to pivot into career in marketing science. So I know what I want to pivot, but I lack an in-depth and fundamental like training in tech or data science. So this program can fill the gap, and that is why we are motivated to like select or apply for this program, to have this kind of clear mission and aspirations. And second, during the interview process, just show that you will actively engage in the Tepper community, to join the clubs, to engage with the career service, because that is what differentiate ourselves from like a normal online Python bootcamp. That and just proactively network with people or join any activities for network growth and career or personal growth. And yeah, I think that's my top two
Great.
advice.
Kevin, your advice for those who are considering the program?
Yeah, I think Owen hit on a lot of really, really good points, but and I'll try to be as brief as possible here. But I think one is think about your goals and what your intent is. I think no matter where you get an MSBA degree, you're going to work hard. I think that especially true here. So come in and be ready for that, and make sure your goals are aligned. And I think in addition to that, like as you're evaluating programs, come talk to us. You know, my goal for those listening, for those interested in our program, is to get them to wherever it is that they're meant to be, where they're supposed to be. If that's here, perfect. If not, let us be a part of your process to get wherever it is you're supposed to be. Because we genuinely, you know, really want students to land here if they're supposed to be here. But we want to be a part of the journey for even folks who don't end up landing here. So come talk to us.
And check out the website. I think it does a really good job of laying the program out. There's 16 courses over 4 mini semesters. Each semester has some experiential learning in it. There are really good course descriptions in all 16 of those courses. And it makes it easier to get your hands around and understand. The other thing I should point out is that Tepper does have a part-time option here. That is a 2-year long program. And you could explore that on the website as well. So, Kevin and Owen, thank you for joining us today. Really a pleasure to meet both of you and to talk about this great program.